Vibe. It's the bass on the beat.
My name is Adide. I'm a spoken word artist and a storyteller. But today I will be reciting an elegy. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to lay to rest one of our own, a child of our fathers, once known, but now unknown. Here, buried and alone, lies the fetus of our mother, aborted when it should have been preserved and grown. How dare you ask me? How dare you bury that which is not dead? How dare you mourn that which is not lost? How dare you give up on what can still be saved? Well, I dare because you made me. From my first breath on earth, my very first cry, you taught me that my fatherland is of no worth. You taught me that my mother tongue should be treated with spite. You taught me to shrink myself to fit into your pretty little box, erasing parts and bits of me that you swore I would never need. You showed me how to ignore the echoes of my ancestors until it quietened to a dull ache. Now you panic. Yet when you named your son Eric and another Finnick, it did not occur to you that partaking in the decay of your own skin is akin to suicide. You ask why I have no regard for that which is mine. Yet you clapped and cheered when the teacher shamed me and asked me to pay a fine for calling a thing that which my fathers named it. You clapped and cheered when I spoke in languages that were alien to me and foreign to my nature. My language became illegal when you put a target on my back and a mark on my neck, screaming "Ibotik Mugu," vernacular idiots. That which our fathers preserved with bloody knees and our mothers handed over to us with bruised ankles, you so easily traded off. And now you cry. Our customs have been reduced to mere costumes. Our culture has been traded for useless couture. Let me ask you. When you fed off the rot on your brother's skin, did it not occur to you that you would soon bury a king? My people, let us stop the useless tears and theatrics, and let us stand as one and bury that which we have killed. For here lies the legacy our fathers sought to preserve. Here lies the culture our mothers fought to conserve. Here lies that which Ndìgbò took a stand for. Here, dead, killed by our own hands, lies that which makes us Ndị. Thank you.
Thank you, Thank you so much, Adide. That was very profound and impactful.
A very good evening to everybody. Now from the Center Kaiji Anabata Madunine to the Center for Memories. Ebe no ugbu a bụ ogige Ụmụọfịa community. Ndị sonyere anyị na Things Fall Apart na anyị nọ ebe a 7 days since June 29 to July 5th to discuss Things Fall Apart. And we had a very great event. We actually Chimamanda Ngozi who delivered a keynote speech to culminate the festival. And that's one of the things the Center for Memory Cinema. Our mandate is to document, preserve, and promote history, culture, and excellence. And in doing that, we have designed Nkata Umu Ibe. One of the programs Igejiko Ndị Ìgbò ọnụ ebe ga nọ na-akpanye gbasara Ndị Ìgbò. Maka na Things Fall Apart achịnụ achebe nọ wee dee, see when we gather under the moonlight sun. Ọ bụrụ na onye ọbụla adịghị afụ the moon, you know, mana ọ na-adị mma ka for kinsmen to always gather to talk about issues that matter to them. And this is what the center tries to achieve through Nkata Umu Ibe. And luckily, this edition is the 41st edition since we started in May 2018. You know, and we couldn't have done that without the support of incredible people like the Enugu Sports Club, who first came on board, you know, to support us when we started. And Afia TV, Solid FM, Signature TV, Nzapi, and I hope I'm not forgetting anybody. But most important, radio, please forgive me. And most importantly, Ford Foundation came in last year, you know, to throw a big weight of support to what we are doing. And that support has enabled us to do a lot of incredible things through Nkata Umu Ibe, because we've included children. You know, we added the mentorship session. Every speaker would have to, you know, take time to, you know, mentor some of the students and enable them to understand the discussion again, where, you know, later in the evening. You know, and we have other programs, documentaries. We've produced a number of documentaries that have helped Ndị Ìgbò to capture, you know, our experience and our journey. And those documentaries on YouTube, even if you've not seen it, please search the center's page on YouTube and please endeavor to watch it. And I would like to welcome everybody and ask you to enjoy your stay at the Center for Memories. Maybe in one time you come into our gallery and see some of the exhibitions we've displayed. And I also want to recognize a few persons. Dr. Wonsu from the Institute of Development Studies. You're welcome. Thank you for joining us at the Center for Memories. So, our patron at the Center for Memories, Shiven. Shiven, you're welcome, sir. Thank you so much for the support. And Uche Umagebре, our moderator for today, who has also been a long supporter of the Center for Memories. And His Royal Majesty that entered, Igwe Sunday Ora, Igwe Anyekenegi, Igwe Nona Center for Memories. So I think at this juncture, I'm going to hand over to Anwali so that we can start in Yajimakia Webia.
Once again, welcome to Nkata Umu Ibe. This month, Nkata, the topic was EbubeDike VinMartin, reclaiming the Igbo voice in national conversations. And when I saw it, Obi Mapong onase ani ebezina. Ima onwe ki gesisi mmadu ebezina. Odika ebezina ko. Nwekwe ise nwetekwe ge ebezina. So, but in the course of the discourse today, we will understand the angle from which that topic speaks to us. And I think that now more than ever is the time to have the conversations of reclaiming the Igbo voice in national conversations.
I'm so happy to welcome each and every one of us here to the August 2025 edition of our monthly speaker series, Nkata Umu Ibe. For some of you who are not very familiar with the Center for Memories and this particular program, so Nkata Umu Ibe is a flagship program of the Center for Memories, where we invite distinguished speakers to come and lead the conversation on some of those critical issues that affect us as Igbo people and how we can move our region forward. So the inaugural session of Nkata Umu Ibe was had in May 2018, and we had Professor Chidi Odinkalu, who spoke on Igbo Kunye, lessons from post-war recovery in Southeast Nigeria. And between 2018 till now, we've had over 40 editions of Nkata Umu Ibe. So today is actually the 41st edition. Please, let's put our hands together. Odirizi. And today, we've gathered together once again to also have conversation on another very important topic, which we have titled EbubeDike VinMartin, Reclaiming the Igbo Voice in the National Conversation. And to lead this conversation is no other than EbubeDike VinMartin Ilo. And I'm here to read, yes. I'm here to read just a brief citation of our distinguished speaker, and then I'm going to invite him to come and make his presentation. VinMartin Ilo, a profile in service and professionalism. VinMartin Ilo, President and CEO of Signature TV, is one of the leading names in broadcast journalism in Nigeria, with over 40 years of professional experience. Over the years, Mr. Ilo has built an impeccable reputation as a brave, credible, and consistent voice in utilizing journalism to promote good governance and development in Nigeria. One of the remarkable works of Mr. Ilo was his extraordinary courage in foiling the unconstitutional removal of the then governor of Anambra State, Dr. Chris Ngige, in 2006, through a remarkable live broadcast at AIT that has become a reference point in Nigeria media history. Mr. Ilo brings to the table a unique blend of civil service as well as political and private sector experience. More than 13 years of his career was with the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, where he rose to the position of senior network newscaster at a time when Nigeria had no private radio station and the FRCN was about the only major source of news on radio. Mr. Ilo joined Dar Communications PLC in 1996, owners of the first private radio and TV stations in the country, which are Ray Power FM and AIT. He left Dar as Senior Special Duties and Southeast Operations, as Director of Special Duties and Southeast Operations, having served in other capacities, including diplomatic and foreign correspondent, General Manager, State Operations, and Zonal Director, Southeast, and was responsible for the establishment of Ray Power FM and AIT stations in these parts of the country. In his professional career, Mr. Ilo had anchored frontline TV and radio shows in Nigeria and interviewed high-profile personalities within and outside Africa, including heads of government and global business leaders, and covered events all over the world. In the last couple of years, Mr. Martin Ilo has served as consultant for international organizations like Ford Foundation, MacArthur Foundation, OSIWA, and USAID. Mr. Ilo, who is a PhD candidate in development studies at the University of Nigeria, holds an HND, Mass Communications, from the Institute of Management and Technology, IMT, Enugu, a Master's in International Relations and Strategic Studies from the Lagos State University, and an MSc in Development Studies from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. Mr. Ilo is also an alumnus of the prestigious Harvard Kennedy School of Government, Harvard University, and the London School of Economics. You can clap, please. In the last 22 years, Mr. Ilo has run a self-funded education foundation that has provided scholarships to over 250 students from his hometown of Aduachi and greater Ogu up to tertiary level. Thank you. A transformational leadership teacher, mentor, and public speaker who has brought an unbiased dimension to national issues. Mr. Ilo was appointed Special Advisor, Media to the Enugu State Governor and member Enugu State Executive Council in 2007. He also served as a member governing board of the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, from 2022 to 2024. Mr. Ilo is a commentator for local and international media outfits and has published insightful articles on international and national issues, and is the author of In Your Own Words, a collection of TV interviews. EbubeDike VinMartin Ilo is married to Dr. Judith Ijoma Ilo, a university lecturer and nurse, and they are blessed with children. And today, he is here as our distinguished speaker for the August 2025 edition of Nkata Umu Ibe. And he will be leading the conversation on a very important topic titled "EGBޮ EBEZINA, Reclaiming the Igbo Voice in National Conversations." Ladies and gentlemen, with a resounding round of applause, please let's welcome to the stage EbubeDike VinMartin Ilo as he comes to make his Ńkàtà presentation. Thank you.
The management and staff of the Center for Memories, my very respected traditional ruler who has found time to be here this evening, His Royal Highness Igwe Sondora Ohabuenyi II of Aduachi. Permit me also to recognize, as they said in my citation, I'm a PhD student, and my supervisor and director of our school, the Institute for Development Studies, University of Nigeria, Enugu campus, Professor Nwosu, is here. And I hope what I say or not say will not affect my dissertation. Also in this audience today is my lovely wife, Dr. Mrs. Ijoma Ilo. And I also have my very lovely kids. And so many of my friends have made out time to be here this evening. Umunnem uleje. That's how we say it where I come from. I'm from Aduachi, Oji River local government area of Enugu State. When a couple of years ago, I started hearing about the efforts of some Igbo sons to put up a center that will, among other things, focus on Ndị Ìgbò, our history, our culture, our contemporary issues and challenges, and of course our future, I was cautiously optimistic. Optimism because I knew the pedigree of those behind it, but curious because I knew it was a tall order, a Herculean task. A few years later, I am happy to reveal that my optimistic expectations have been surpassed, and I'm amazed by the progress already made by the Center for Memories. So let me begin by congratulating the Center for the great job they have done and still doing for Nkata Ndị Ìgbò. I'm extremely excited for being chosen to speak today at a very important time when Ndị Ìgbò is at crossroads, yearning for reinvention and a new and more meaningful future. I see this as a humbling privilege and an opportunity to lend my voice to this reawakening and search for self of Ndị Ìgbò. Like the old East Central State newspaper was entitled, The Renaissance. I don't know how many that will agree with these issues I will raise today, but my intention really is to start a robust conversation that continues beyond today outside the walls of this center. It should have been sometime in 1967 or thereabout. My memory of the events of that era are so hazy, but I believe it was early in the morning at the thick of the Nigerian Civil War, and our family was moving again, evacuating from my father's maternal home as the federal forces were closing in on our entire community, Achi, in Oji River local government area of Enugu State. My parents and other relations were prioritizing which property would be included in our luggage as we headed for a safer location, far from the invading federal troops determined to crush the Biafran resistance. This unfortunate morning, I was crying and rolling on the ground because my greatest earthly possession, my bicycle, was going to be abandoned as we were fleeing to safety. No family member had a vehicle to transport our belongings, and in the scale of preference, my bicycle did not make the list of important items to be evacuated. I was beyond myself in grief, as my little mind could not comprehend why my most prized possession was going to be abandoned. My parents were sad, but there was practically nothing they could do to assuage their child's pain. This is how, as a little child of about 3.5 years, I became familiar with the title of today's conversation, EbubeDike. EbubeDike, Ebele, Ebewule, depending on what your dialect is, EbubeDike could be a word of consolation, a word of encouragement, hope, or even a reprimand. In some situations, EbubeDike can be a call to action. The truth is that EbubeDike, stop crying, derived from Ibe Akwa, crying. As much as it is used to express or address pain, loss, deprivation, or even maltreatment, if it lingers and becomes a recurring decimal or situation, it could be seen as a sign of weakness, disadvantage, failure, or defeat. And they'll be calling you cry baby. Sometimes it's marks of inability of a person or group to identify challenges, confront it, overcome it, and rise above it. So today, I'm arguing that this crying by Igbo people needs to stop. Igbos have cried enough. It is time to take their fate in their hands. Ndị Igbo have to retreat. Ndị Igbo have to re-strategize and re-examine how the Igbo nation is engaging with the rest of Nigeria, how we are confronting our many challenges, how we are collaborating among ourselves, and how to prioritize our needs as a people. We must stop bemoaning our fate and do something about it today, not tomorrow. There is no doubt that Ndị Igbo have over a long time faced existential threats in this country, Nigeria. For Ndị Igbo, the word marginalization has become synonymous with our complaints about the challenges we face in our nation today. Some have even taken it further to say that Igbos are not only marginalized, but hated by other tribes in Nigeria. So I ask this evening, are Igbos marginalized? Many of our brothers and sisters will answer in the affirmative, but I want to differ somehow by saying that the greatest marginalization against the Igbos, it is not the marginalization by other tribes, but the marginalization of Igbos by Igbos, especially the elites and those that have been entrusted with leadership positions. What is the situation? In the last 26 years, the 5 states of the Southeast have collected trillions of naira in federal government allocations. And add that to their internally generated revenue. Also add extras from ecological fund, the occasional windfalls, and the billions the individual state governments have borrowed or grants they have received from international donor agencies. When you look at these humongous figures, tell me, does anywhere in the Southeast look like an environment where this kind of money has been spent, utilized, or invested in? Does our schools or hospitals in Abakaliki, in Awka, in Enugu, Owerri, or Umuahia reflect the recycled huge amounts the states budget every year for education or health, ditto for other sectors? In all the Southeast today, show me one standard and functional hospital of repute that is run by government that provides affordable health care for Ndị Igbo. Between 1957 and 1966, Dr. Michael Ihonu Karakpara, Premier of the Eastern Region, caused what I like to call an infrastructural earthquake and kicked off a developmental revolution in all sectors, including agriculture, education, industrialization, health, tourism, just name it. Few years into his premiership, 1964 to be precise, Eastern Nigeria became the fastest growing and industrializing economy in the world, ahead of Malaysia, South Korea, Taiwan, and Singapore. My dear brothers and sisters, where are these countries today, and where is the Southeast? And we are talking about marginalization. In the First Republic, when he was doing all this miracle, oil was not a factor, and there were no monthly federal allocations to be shared. More than 60 years after, every Igbo man is yearning for the reenactment of that golden era. But as they say, otu awu neji. And I ask, ụmụnne m, ọ bụ na nwa Mgbeke amara akpụ isi ka ọ bụ na agụba adịrọ nkọ? At a point during the Jonathan administration, Igbos held many strategic positions. Where did those positions take the Igbo man? At that time, how did our brothers and sisters use their positions to the advantage of Ndị Ìgbò? Or did they just use it for personal aggrandizement? The Enugu-Onitsha Road and the Port Harcourt-Enugu Road are forever under construction and remains a nightmare that has further compounded the security situation in Igbo land. Yet, we've had governors, ministers, and legislators who represent us in the National Assembly and the Federal Executive Council. Many say that while their cheeks and pockets grew fatter, the Igbo continued to suffer neglect. In politics, how have we fared? The most disgraceful outing was in 2023, when most Nigerians and even non-Nigerians believed it was the turn of Igbos to become president. Many of our brothers connived with people of other tribes and truncated that opportunity. Not only did outsiders work against us, but we worked against ourselves. There were so many enemies within, or saboteurs, a word that became popular during the Nigerian Civil War. Thank God for Peter Obi and Labour Party, which made it possible for Igbos to be counted in 2023. Unfortunately, with all his efforts, the presidency still eluded Ndị Ìgbò. Still fresh in our minds is the 1999 betrayal of Dr. Alex Ekwueme at the PDP convention in Jos, and other opportunities where Igbos just flunked it because Ndị Ìgbò worked against themselves. And we are talking about marginalization. Nigeria stands on three tripods: Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba. Is it not worrisome that while the Hausas and Yorubas have taken more than one turn in the presidency, Igbos are still docilely waiting? My question is, waiting for who? Power is taken, not given. The other problem with our politics is our political office recruitment system, which has ignored merit and has tilted towards mediocrity. In the old Igbo traditional collegiate leadership, what gave you a seat at the table was hard work and success. So, the best hunter, the best wrestler, the best farmer, and so on, successful people with pedigree, track record, and character were the ones the villages sent to the elders' council. Today, in Igbo land, what qualifies a good number of our people to public office are mundane and pedestrian considerations. Those more likely to get to office to represent our people are the guy or guys, or the guy who carries a bag for the governor, or the guy who cleans the senator's shoes, his barber, his PA, or the chief thug of the chairman of the party. At the end, these, in quotes please, servant leaders, because they are servant leaders, get to office confused and lost. And before they get their bearing, the tenure is over, and they return with billions of naira in their pocket to cause trouble in our communities. Painfully, if nothing is done, 2027 will be more disastrous. One of the biggest issues in Nigeria today is state creation. And what you hear in Igbo land is a staccato of voices and cacophony of presentations. Discordant tunes that may deny the Southeast its right to getting at least 2 more states. It beats the imagination of many, not just me, why Igbos, for something as important as this, are not speaking with one voice, or even in a room having a conversation about it. Why did governors of the Southeast, or Haneze Ndị Ìgbò, not convoke a meeting before now to make an effort towards consensus or come up with a well-articulated strategy or to demand for additional states for the Southeast? This is the same way we have handled the agitation for a better treatment of Ndị Ìgbò by the government of Nigeria. Instead of collaboration between the agitators and the Igbo intelligentsia and leaders, there was a complete disconnect. There was not even an agreement among Igbos on whether we should exit Nigeria or constructively engage in Nigerian state from within. It was just confusion. Igbos continued working at cross purposes, and no meaningful progress has been made to confront the ill treatment of Igbos, or whether you call it marginalization or what, by the Nigerian state. No meaningful progress. Igbo unity and oneness is another kettle of fish. In 2017, Peter Opaleke from Anambra State, now Cardinal Opaleke, was posted to Ahia-Rambise Catholic Diocese as bishop, but was stoutly rejected by his fellow Igbo people, who tagged his posting as discrimination in Igbo land. For 8 long years, they were up in arms until the bishop resigned and the Pope had to withdraw him. But thank God today, he is a cardinal of the Catholic Church. Is there something others are doing differently in Nigeria? During the Obasanjo regime, the South-South region mounted a campaign for the presidency. At that time, I worked for Chief Raymond Dokbesi, founder of Ray Power and AIT, who was one of the pillars of that agitation. So I had a somewhat front row seat. One thing I noticed was that the riotous political atmosphere in the South-South quietened, and sworn enemies made up. Political opponents started collaborating and planning. While the militants made the creeks ungovernable, disrupting oil production, the political leaders, elites, and elders were engaging the Nigerian authorities. It didn't happen in our case. Confusion. I also discovered that a good number of their political office holders were providing the resources for the advocacy and efforts made towards the agitation and engagements. There were a lot of planning, openly and covertly. And as they say, if you fail to plan, you plan to lose. A question for the Igbos. Their media owners were empowered, funded, and galvanized to drive the campaign. I remember in 2000, as the staff of AIT, we were going to be shut down by those we had borrowed money to start the business. It was the leaders of the South-South, besides Nigerians that contributed 50 kobo, 1 naira, it was the leaders, political leaders of South-South that found a way around it, that provided the money for AIT to survive. That is what regions that know what they are doing do. In summary, every hand was on deck, and there was common purpose by the people of the South-South. The South-South did not win the presidency in 2007, but Jonathan became vice president, and the rest is history. What do I think Ndị Ìgbò should be doing? Ndị Ìgbò must define their purpose, their objective, and their mission. Ohaneze Ndị Ìgbò should be repurposed and made relevant, or a new organization should be founded. As the apex socio-political body in Igbo land, Ohaneze must reflect that status in character and in action. The Ohaneze and Igbo leaders should stop sheepishly following state governors and political office holders about. Ohaneze should be the voice of reason and provide the proper direction for Ndị Igbo. Our wealthy sons and daughters, both at home and abroad, must get involved with raising funds to support Igbo causes. If organizations like Ohaneze are well funded, they will be more independent, and they will be able to appropriately represent Ndị Igbo interests rather than the interest of transient political office holders. Collaboration is key to development. Actually, collaboration has become the currency of today. I believe that for the Southeast to make any intentional progress, the 5 states of Southeast need to work together, and we need the governors to drive it. Dubai is an emirate in the United Arab Emirates. A lot of us here have been to Dubai. It is like a state or a region in Nigeria. Dubai is not the richest emirate in UAE, but there was an intentional effort by its leaders to develop Dubai. And then other emirates, including the richest Abu Dhabi, started playing catch-up, trying to copy Dubai. And today, Dubai has become the greatest destination in the world. Achieving it is not rocket science, but needs dexterous planning and execution. Instead of turning one state in the Southeast into an unachievable and unsustainable Dubai in Africa, can we turn the Southeast into that El Dorado? A true Southeast development body needs to be instituted, funded, and made functional to drive such collaborations. Unlike what we had seen in the past, this body must have a life of its own and funding structured in such a way that it is not dependent on the whims of a particular governor or individual dashing us money. The Southeast must partner in what I want to call joint regional projects in different sectors. For example, a rail line or a monorail connecting the 5 southern eastern states, starting from Enugu through Oka all the way to Onitsha, and then goes all the way to Owerri, connects to Aba, comes through Umuahia, goes to Ebonyi, and returns to Enugu, will not only be viable, but will be attractive to any investor, as it will be easy for a return on investment. I remember when I was serving in the Enugu government, the Enugu state government wanted to do a monorail. Even then, I argued that who was going to sustain a monorail for Enugu State? Will the monorail only go from New Market to Agbani Road or from Agbani Road to Udi? It will not be sustainable. So we need, a bigger elephant in the room for this to happen. A regional highway linking the 5 eastern states is also achievable. Why, for instance, can't the Southeast have a regional first-class university owned by the 5 states that would train the best brains in Igbo land? Or an ultra-modern hospital comparable to the best in the world? Why can't it happen? Somebody should tell me why. A simple AI query I made gave me this, and I quote, "The Igbo people are a significant economic force in Nigeria, known for the entrepreneurial spirit, robust trade networks, and contributions to various sectors like agriculture, manufacturing, and small businesses. Their strong emphasis on apprenticeship and networking, along with their resilience, has fueled their economic success despite challenges." Unquote. Today, Igbos dominate a lot of sectors in Nigeria. In retail, in aviation, in hospitality, Igbos have their fingers in many pies. We need to sit down to discuss how these areas of advantage can be strengthened and exploited for the good of the Southeast. Igbos must invest more in manufacturing to create more value chains, especially in the creation of jobs and employment. In the early 90s, former governor of Anambra State, Dr. Chukwuemeka Ezeife, God bless his soul, championed the Think Home philosophy, which encouraged Igbo entrepreneurs to bring their businesses home, including those in diaspora. There is no better time to do it but now. Every day, our brothers and sisters doing business in other parts of Nigeria and the world complain of attacks from their hosts. Our brothers in Ghana are going to be thrown out because one of our brothers said he wanted a kingdom, and they sold land to him. And when he wanted to develop and feel good, now they want to throw out all the Nigerians. Our governments in the Southeast must create a welcoming and conducive atmosphere to attract these entrepreneurs back home. This new trend in the Southeast, that the only way for state governments to grow their internally generated revenue is by taxation, has to stop. It is not only driving away investors, but it is killing our small businesses and killing our people. Our governments in the Southeast should be more creative and innovative and come up with revenue generation mechanisms that will not impoverish our people or scare businesses away. We need rich Igbo men who will identify credible and trustworthy politicians and invest in them. We need political leaders that will not seek power for only himself, but will also be willing to cede power to a more qualified Igbo man if that is what is needed. A leader who will not be a perennial candidate for any available office. We need a selfless Igbo leader who will mobilize and galvanize Ndị Igbo, and like Martin Luther King, be ready to die for Ndị Igbo to be liberated and just look at the mountaintop. For decades of my work in journalism, I have always believed that for a people's voice to be heard, they need to have a platform to amplify it. For a people's message to be not to be distorted, they need to tell their story themselves. That was why the great Zik of Africa, so early in his career, established chains of newspapers. His wife, Professor Uche Azikiwe, told me in an interview many years ago that those newspapers were very important to Zik because he wanted to own the narrative. Sometimes I wonder who could have given the Arab perspective in the Middle East if there was no Al Jazeera. The truth is the Igbo voice will never be heard loud and clear until Ndị Igbo make a conscious effort to invest in the media and support media houses already established by Ndị Igbo. The media is such a powerful tool that we as a tribe cannot ignore. Early in my broadcast journalism career, I realized this fact, and I was instrumental to the establishment of a number of AIT and radio stations in the Southeast. Unfortunately, because of the harsh economic conditions and management challenges after I left in 2007, the stations did not survive. But the hunger to ensure that as a people, we have a strident voice brought me back in 2024. Now leading a team of professional journalists and seasoned broadcasters, we founded Signature TV to tell the Southeast story from the eyes and perspective of the Southeast, while telling other national and international stories. We have been on this journey in the last 16 months, and it has not been easy at all. In our own case, for us to move our headquarters to Enugu from Abuja, where we had operated for many years, we had to invest extra hundreds of millions to build a brand new station from scratch. And we did it because we believe that the Igbos need to have a voice. Unfortunately, with all these investments, our governments are doing nothing to encourage or support us. When they have events, they will go to Lagos and Abuja to import other TV stations and radio stations and pay them millions, while those of us in the Southeast, radio, TV stations, newspapers, are stoutly ignored. Our businessmen told the same line as they prefer the big stations, forgetting that people invested to make the big stations what they are today. As you know, they also forget that besides telling the Southeast story, that we are also providing employment for hundreds of our kinsmen. Our story is not different from other media entrepreneurs in the Southeast as we groan under the heavy burden of our weak naira, escalating logistic costs, and drop in advert revenues. This is not what happens in other climes, where governments help to sustain the local media because they realize the importance to do so. Finally, no one can tell your stories like you will tell it. And in today's Nigeria media landscape and the unending political competition rooted on tribal allegiances, every interest group must ensure it has a vibrant media sympathetic to their agenda and aspirations. My dear brothers, crying will not change anything for Ndị Igbo. What will cause change are the positive actions we take today to change our situations ourselves. So, once again, I make this plea in the name of our forefathers. Ndị Ìgbò EBEZINA. Chukwu gozie Ndị Ìgbò.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. That was a fabulous speech, and may the lessons remain with us, and may it inspire us to take the actions that we need as Ndị Ìgbò to drive the development we need to see in our region. Dalurin Nesa, thank you. And now we will have Mr. Uche Omar Gabriel, the Managing Director of Solid FM, join the Ńkàtà proper now to lead the moderated panel session. Thank you so much, Mr. Uche Gabriel. No, thank you.
If you enjoyed the speech, I'd like you to put your hands together one more time for my boss right here. I also want to thank Center for Memories for the opportunity to moderate this session. Lamentation is not a social or political strategy, and more than ever, we need more than sympathy. We need a strategic plan of not just survival, but a way to thrive and rise above both perceived and real threats. Thank you, EbubeDike. Thank you, VinMartin Ilo, for that passionate and call to action for Ndị Ìgbò. And I want to also thank God, because it's not just for the people who are here. Signature TV will amplify it, Afia TV will amplify it, and all the other social media platforms. So those who are not here will eventually get to hear it. Now, we're going to have an interactive session. I'll ask a few questions, and then we'll swing into also getting a bit of input. It could be a question, it could be a short comment. So, let me start with this. I had to change my questions because your speech answered all my questions. So, from your exposition, which cited humongous amounts of funds and the failure of the political class to deploy the funds to judicial and productive use, and of course, you should mean leadership is a foundational and central factor in the problems we face as a people. Now, with successive governments failing, of course, that's from the outside, failing to implement the 3 R's, with a political class that is not that committed to the Igbo cause, and a skewed political and electoral process that threw up not the best. What chances do the Igbos really have for reintegration into the political landscape?
Well, I don't know if it shocks you that in almost every other aspect of our lives, the Igbos have been rehabilitated or rehabilitated themselves. Is it in sports? In the first 2 years after the Civil War, Rangers took took Igbos back into the mainstream. Is it in business? Even with the abandoned property and whatever. Go to Abuja. A good percentage of the big houses are owned by Igbos. Hotels, shopping malls. Like I said in my discussion or in my speech, the retail market is with Igbos. So is it not worrying us that we can't achieve that in the political front? And why? You find out that a lot of these achievements are by individuals. It has become so problematic for Igbos to come together and pursue a project. I was telling a friend of mine, I live in Abuja. I've been in this journalism. I've also done some politics. Anytime an Igbo man invites you to a meeting about how to move Igbo forward, you come the first time, they will talk about it. You come the second time, they will talk about it. You come the third time, he's running for president or governor. That's why he's been calling people to come and do an Igbo agenda. They are not sincere. You know, I hope I will not be misunderstood. But I used Tinubu as, how do they say it? Point of contact or something. Or, to tell my story. The leaders are not being sincere with those that they are leading. Especially at our tribal level. You're an Igbo man or an Igbo politician is telling you, Kaija Ogu, no tutu echi, he say at time, or signal 4 a.m. He put up by 4 a.m. Niluten Abias, Agwagin up go by 3. And it's email investigation about Jereboka. So, a lot of times, people have been deceived, people have been misdirected, their money is taken away from them, especially our brothers that come from the diaspora to come and run for office and what have you. So, what I think we need to do in this area is, I talked about common purpose. What is our agenda? But sometimes revolutions are not achieved by 1,000 people. There must be a leader. We are looking for that leader, and we are hoping that that leader will emerge sooner than later.
Now, part of the problem we have is this notion of Igbo Enweze. Now, you rightly cited Tinubu as a case study. When Tinubu was the governor of Lagos State, the governor of my state then was Ojo Zokalo. Chimaroke was the governor of Enugu State. Yeah. And how come these two have not been able to build the kind of political, movement that he has built over the time?
It takes a lot of energy.
Energy they don't have?
It takes a lot of money. Then it takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of sacrifice. And then it takes a certain degree of dictatorship. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Because I'm sure you would have heard those accusations. Oh, Tinubu is riding roughshod over his political family and all that. Sometimes you need to do a little of that to beat people into shape. If you don't do it, everybody just does what they like.
Because they may not see what you're saying.
They may not see what you're saying. So, I told them, there was a governor who is my friend, and he wanted to start, he was going to run for president at that time. And he wanted to start what he called something like VinMartin Vanguards, or VinMartin Youths for this. And I told him, there were other people then. When we finished, I asked to see him in private. I said, sir, if all you want to do is to use this to run for governor or for presidency, forget it. Nigerians, Igbos now know the trick. Can we do this in such a way that it has nothing to do with you? Can you support it? Let it be an Igbo movement. An Igbo movement that goes to enlighten our youths, enlighten our people, and tell them about what we need to do as a people. And he said yes, but he didn't mean it, because we have parochial agenda. It took Tinubu so many years to work on this. He had handshakes across the Niger. He had handshakes across the whatever. He supported people in the north. He worked with people in the south, everywhere. You need to be sagacious. There's a lot of sagacity needed. So, some of the people you mentioned are very rich too. But what you ask yourself is, what did they do with their wealth? Like I said, Tinubu never got involved in running for office with small boys. to 2-year-old boys. And they respected him for that.
Why do you think they are unable to mobilize and grow, at least?
Because they are parties to the conflict. When you start running for election, you will not be respected. Do you understand what I mean? I mean, like me now, I go and start running for councillor in my village. Everybody will say that this Vin has nothing wrong with him. What I should be doing is put money for some bright boys and say, run for councillor and win. So they become your foot soldiers.
Now, there's another significant problem, which I don't know how we're going to deal with it. There's more individualism going on than we have collaborations. Whether you're talking about business. If it was in the north that probably you're floating Signature TV, one rich man somewhere will say, okay, can I be part of it? Now, on one occasion, you may want to say no because you want to own it all. On the other part is that even very rich men are not... I was arguing with someone the other day. I said, how many media houses do we have in the Southeast owned by Igbos? Not so many for the kind of crowd we command. Yeah. Okay, so why? Because how do we deal with the issue of always choosing individualism over... I mean, businesses owned by Igbo people don't outlast them. Once they die, it's gone because there's no collaboration. Is this something we can conquer as a people?
We have to be intentional. We have to be having this kind of conversations, not just as at Center for Memories, which I commend them for, because we never had these conversations as Igbo people. And that's why when I started, I commended the Center for Memories. We never had this kind of forum. Can you imagine a couple of weeks back, they brought back Things Fall Apart. A book written by an Igbo man. I am not going to, please don't disregard what I say if it doesn't make sense. I don't think that Wole Soyinka was a better writer than Chinua Achebe.
But look at how he's celebrated.
No, but what I'm saying is, even where he comes from, he's celebrated. His drama is performed all over, everywhere. He's up there. We were talking about Humphrey Nwosu not long ago. The same talk of marginalizations. Igbos opened their mouth to say we are marginalized. They didn't give Humphrey Nwosu national honor. Bad enough, okay?
Did we give him?
Did we give him? He comes from Anambra State. Did the governor of Anambra State 10 years ago give him a State Merit Award? I don't know whether I don't know how to describe it, but we don't even value what we have. Everybody, you know, if you go to your village over Christmas, everybody comes with his own generator. Everyone comes with their own borehole. They come with chains of cars. Do you know what we do over Christmas? One of my brothers is here. Because when we are in the village, we move around together. People invite you to their houses to tell you how much money they have. If after drinking champagne and washing your hand with moets and what have you, when you're going home, they give you 24 years. Meanwhile, the road that moves from the road that comes into his compound, there are about 10 of them in that area. The road that comes to their compound is not hard. That is the individualism you're talking about. So we need to be intentional. See, the younger ones here should ask their parents. But I want to change it. We need as Igbo people to start changing our own narrative. All right. We have seen these problems. What are we doing about it? I'm glad that my traditional ruler is here. The traditional institution has a role to play. They are our fathers. Let them call our leaders. See them. But, Your Highness, my apologies. But,
government.
But the traditional rulers, some of them, can't stand on their own. They're collecting 2 naira from these political leaders. They can't look them in the eye.
All right. Because
they can't look them in the eye and say, this is wrong. Do it this way.
Sometimes, if you ponder on the situation we're faced with, you almost want to feel hopeless. And the reason is because almost everything that could be done revolves around government. And we don't see that demonstrated commitment to the Igbo cause. The people who are representing Igbos are not representing us. They are rather representing themselves. So, is it a hopeless situation? Can government be bypassed, even if it is momentarily?
The Igbos have bypassed government so many times.
Okay.
Besides the ones that, the new novel rich, who think that the only way to show their wealth is drinking champagne and caviar and all that. There are a lot of Igbos, successful Igbos, who have organized their communities and brought some kind of development that government cannot give them. The Igbos are good at that. I don't think that the Igbo man, the average Igbo man, is dependent on government to eat. Igbos are not beggars. They don't like to beg. They have this kind of pride. So, what I think that we need to do is, I was talking with a friend of mine who is in the House of Reps just 2 days ago. And I asked him, this creation of states, did you guys, knowing that this thing is coming, minus the public, what's this thing they did?
Public town hall.
Public town hall. Did you guys meet with our Igbo leadership to say, gentlemen, we are going to start this thing? What should we be saying?
What's our position?
What is our position? People in the National Assembly. And I also asked him, I said, how many times do you members of the National Assembly meet?
The Southeast Caucus.
And say, what is our agenda?
What was his answer?
Look at what the North did with this taxation law that came in. For a long time, they said no. They went back. You saw their meetings in Kaduna. They went back, came with a proposal back to the rest of Nigeria. And they touched it here and there. And they said, yes, now we agree.
Okay.
So he said they do. But how are we seeing it? Look at state creation. You know how important it is?
Now, one more thing you need to deal with before we take inputs from the audience is, I agree with you. We say we are marginalized, but there are also pockets of marginalization against ourselves. And one that stands out clear is that up till this very moment, you could doubt Igbo unity. There are stereotypes. You see an Ebonyi man, there's a way they talk about them. You see an MBC man, you see an Nsukka man. We're casting aspersions on ourselves. And so it's more difficult approaching the outside world when we're not even cohesive. How can we begin to have a more united Igbo nation?
It's when we realize that there is advantage in numbers.
Okay.
Remember that saying, when you walk alone, how did they say it? But when you walk together, when you walk with others, we really need to know that you can't do it by yourself. No man goes to battle alone. That's why when there is battle, I read strategy. That's why when there's battle, some people are in front, the other ones are behind them, the other ones, some people are hiding and all that. So that if anything goes wrong, people will come from all these flanks to fight. we need to understand that we are better together. Na anyo koma milionu ogba ofufu. And they will ofu mpolizer. Ibajie mana obia azuku. It's not possible.
All right, quickly, we want to take inputs from the crowd.
EbubeDike.
Sir?
Dalu. Umunem dalu. Biko, obo na ba ye na bo ke mmadu kwuchi okwu asị ka alacha ya ọnụ. Ka alacha ga ọnụ EbubeDike. Ịgbọrọ ife ewu na-eli. O nwere obere akọ mma akọ. The 19 Igbo leaders went to see Abacha. When Abacha was the leader of Nigeria, 19 Northern Igbo leaders went with their paraphernalia, mandi butela apa, emande zenaga when in ebute apa. And umunne munu mana obugodi ni isigido onwu nweta appointment na Azorok mgbe Abacha no. Obugodi na inana driver bujere apa, ye keta at least 100,000 naira then. Hapuzi ego, o nwere ihe ndị Igbo jebere for Abacha for. Abacha wee nọdụ na hall mgbe ndị Igbo juru wee sị mgbe ekwensu si alụ olili ka Abacha adres ndị Igbo bịara ịfịa Abacha nakọta ofe je gba izu ọsị ya jụọ ndị a onye bụ dia leader. Abacha bilide o jiri microphone sị before I talk to you I want to tell you who to your leader. Mmadụ ịsa akwụrụ ọtọ na Azorok. Owe sepa naba mgbe ha kwutara onye isi onye duwe kwa ha bịa, then he will now listen to them. The 19 traditional leaders from northern nations of Nigeria lost that opportunity to get what, and you know Mamba about 1 million march and all. Abacha was looking for support, and he was looking for that support from the Igbo. We lost that. So now he kwuru bụ eziokwu. Onye Igbo na-ebe na-ebezikwo na ịgwa na anyị na-ebele onwe anyị.
All right.
Ihe anyị na-ekwu bụ ọ bụrụ na ndị Igbo, the last Ọhaneze, may God bless his soul. O nwere ihe my brother who is moderating kwuru. Professor Onwe Jog, the veteran Igbo historian, told us na ihe nwere bụ Igbo nwe eze. It was a corruption of that word. Kasi ni Igbo enwe eze. Anyị nwere onye eze nọ among us. Si jụọ ya, ọ ya nwe ndị be ha, ọ ndị be ha nwe.
Thank you.
It is a wrong one. Ka anyị ghara ịdị na-use ya among anywhere ndị Igbo kwu. Igbo nwe eze. Onye ọbụla gwara na Igbo enwe eze. Anyị bụ ndị Igbo na-eme akpa agwa, anyị dị ka ọnụ akọrọ anyị. Ndị Igbo nwere eze. Ekenekwa amụnụ.
Thank you.
EbubeDike ekenengo.
Thank you, sir.
Okwu gị dara gem. Contribution nwere on two flanks. One, I feel that Igbo, the endangered species in Nigeria. Oh yes. And in that, strategic engagement is what is required. Anya mabu no nwanyi because ndị Nigeria ma ndị ụwa kpọrọ anyị asị. Igbo na-agbakwa mbọ. While we acknowledge our limitations and faults, we must acknowledge also our efforts, genuine efforts. Unu atabukwana anyị n'ụta. O nwere ndị Igbo ma ihe ha na-eme at all fronts. Even if it is individualistic, all we need is strategy and coordination. Yeah. The second point I want to make, agami ikwegi sindi Igbo, na I need another Bola Tinubu, or I need onye de Tinubu na Igbo. Oh ha! We need onye de Peter Obi. We need to clone Peter Obi. We need to have institutions where our young people will be oriented. Teach them, even if it's an existing center, like here. Can you clone one Peter Obi, like the light and his lights? Can you strategically one day Acting a Zulu presidency na 2023, Peter Obi would have been there.
All right.
Genuinely.
Thank you.
Bikonu. Ndewo.
Thank you.
Abum Okazu Omennachi na metiti achi. Ahambu Henry Abuademma Onuora. Eji m obere ohere a na-ekene nwanne m nwoke bụ n'anya ukwu EbubeDike. Egbe eji eje ọgụ. EbubeDike ekene gị. Anụrụ m ihe niile i kwuru. Nkata ịkpara, anyị na gị kpara na mgbede a dabara ọfụma ọfụma. Ebe okwu m na-agakaba bụ ụmụ nwanne anyị ndị ọzọ nọ outside the 4 states, the 5 states anyị nwere na Southeast. Ndị Igbo abụrụ sọsọ na these 5 states ka anyị nwere mmadụ. Igbo nọ na Benue steeti, Igbo nọ na Edo steeti, Igbo nọ na Rivers, Igbo nọ na Bayelsa, Igbo nọ everywhere, ndị Igbo nọ everywhere. Dialects, little variation na dialects, bụ ihe ụfọdụ ji asị na ha abụrụ ndị Igbo. Mana ịnịcha afa ncha niile, how can you tell me na akwa gị bụ Wike? Isi m na eburu onye Igbo. Ma na afa gị bụ kedu afa nke former Chibuike? Isi na eburu onye Igbo. Who does that? Who says that? So please, ihe chọrọ ịtụnye bụ, while we are trying to tidy up issues with the region, that we should not lose sight of that we have our people even outside our region. Okay. We should make concerted effort to bring everybody together. When we do so, you will now discover that we are majority in Nigeria.
Thank you.
God bless you.
My name is Daniel Okwo. I run a leadership foundation called Daniel Okwo Leadership Foundation. Well, I think each time we say we are marginalized, I disagree that we are not marginalized. It's a process. It's a learning process through before we get to the promised land. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't have any other. Yes, Tinubu is disagree with his. I entirely disagree with anything other, with strategy or whatever. We have our own strategy, and God has also given us that person who will represent us at every level. And the brand name is P2B. If you like, except all we need to do, how do we support this man? Because he has marketed himself, he have done his whatever homework. But I'm happy that brother Martin Obi has also strategy of because all we need is this media incentive or media whatever. With that, we can get to the promised land. All these people that say they are not Igbos, but they are answering Igbos, when there is time to share Igbos, they will now come and collect. They will now be time. You see, when you get it right, people will now looking for you. I think it's our turn or whatever. If like our president said that it's our turn, they have taken their turn. It's the turn of also the Igbos now. If we can support, see, I'm not talking about P2B because it's a brand that we should market.
All right.
It's a brand that we should project.
I hope
it's a brand that we should. We are not here to, I run a leadership.
This is not politics that we're doing.
No, this is my own stand.
Okay.
And
thank you.
everything we are doing must be intentional. Because if you are not intentional in anything you are doing, anything can derail you. So now the Nkata Umu Ibe has also brought us once in a month. We come here. It's where a starting point where we should. Because you have to be intentional. You must know where you are going.
All right.
And you must be determined to get
Thank
better
you, Mr. Dan.
Thank
I want to thank EbubeDike for his speech. He really delved into it very well. If I'm not do I speak in Igbo or English?
Mix it up. Mix it up.
So that, what I understood from what EbubeDike said is that Igbos need to help each other. We need to help others to climb. When he referred to Tinubu, he was trying to say that we need that Igbo person that will come out and take that power by force. And let us support that person so that the person will take it and make a mark. That's what we are saying. That when we encourage each other, we will get there. That's what he's trying to say. And that is what I understand.
Please don't take all the time. Go straight to your point.
Mụnwa Manfred Sofruchukwu Nzekwe. Ama ekene nwanne m nwoke bụ Obiora Ilo. Mmemme a ọ chịkọwara. Ihe niile i kwuru bụ otu o si wee odo. Mana ndị be anyị na-asịla ebido n'ụlọ adịrụ mma wee mee gịnị? Wee fụọ n'ezi. Anyị na-ekwu okwu ihe gbasara Igbo. Ka Igbo nsi okwu maka ha. Na ọ bụrụ na ịrachahụ ọnụ ụgụrụ eme gịnị? Aracha arụ. Ihe unu kpọrọ ihe a gbakọrọ bụ Nkata Umu Ibe. Mmadụ n'ole nọ ebe a ka ekwu ihe n'Igbo ọnụ. Ihe niile akọrọ ebe a. Ọ bụghị Nkata Umu Ibe. Sorry. Maka na o kwesịrị ọ bụrụ n'Igbo. The reason bụ na bido ofube eji. Maka ụfọdụ ụmụ anyị kemgbe ndị ara anyị si ama ekwu ihe ma ọ bụrụ na ekwughị n'olu be anyị. Ibe nji wee kwuo ihe a m kwuru nwanne m nwoke m ekwu okwu o ji Tilimbu maa atọ. A ma wọchị ụbọchị Tilimbu m kwuru n'ọha ka o ruoru n'ebe. Tilimbu asụghị n'oyibo ọchị emilọkọ. Ndị Awụsa juru ebe ahụ, ndị Igbo juru ebe ahụ. Ma nye asị gịnị emilọkọ ịnụghị si ji ekọwazi arụ. O gosi na onye ndubu na-agbagbu ndị ọsọ ndubu unu.
All right.
Ihe niile anyị kwuru ebe a na anyị sụrụ n'oyibo. Onwe ndị Hausa nọ ebe a ha ahụgo strategy anyị. Onwe ndị Yoruba nọ ebe a ha ahụgo strategy anyị. Just like he said, na ọ bụ na-asị na onye ndị iro gbara gburugburu na-eme gịnị? Na-eche ndụ nke nye asọzi na ndị iro gbara gburugburu gị kwado ka isi emeri ndị iro. Mmadụ ma mmafu na-eji ebe a.
All right, thank you, sir.
Ekene m unu.
Thank you.
Ndị be anyị ekele m unu. Aha m bụ Ben Nwozu. EbubeDike ekele gị. Ihe niile ikwu dị mma. Amakwa m na ị na-awachi otu ahụ. Ndewo. Ihe m chọrọ ikwu site na nkụzi i nyere. Ofu ihe ikwuru dị ọkpụrụkpụ leadership recruitment. Kedu ka anyị si azụpụta ndị ga-abụ ndị ọchịchị obodo and ndị na-akpọbata ha awụ ndị na-achị obodo kịta? Ka anyị si eme ya ajọka. Maka na tigbuo zọgbuo dị na ndọrọ ndọrọ na-eme ndị isi ha kpakọrọ ọnụ ada ekwe aga nso. Ndị tigbuo zọgbuo ibe ha bịa nso ọ bụrụ ha maka a na-akpọbatazi. So that onye nụrụ na ọ na-arụbu agboro ma ọ na-arụ ọrụ enweghị isi nụkata ekwu ịnọ na Oga State House of Assembly ọga nke nwa 1 2 3 ọ bụrụgo nnukwu onye ọchịchị. Ofu ihe dị mkpa na leadership recruitment bụ philosophy. Kedu ihe the particular leader in time believe? Awolowo is great because he had a philosophy. Philosophy ahụ ka o ji wee zụọ ndị ọ zụpụtara. Ndị ahụ ọ zụpụtara wee bụrụ ndị na-emesa afọ ya na Yoruba. All the national newspapers ndị be ha na-ede chọọ ikwu great national leader. The first person a na-akpa afọ bụ Awolowo. Awolowo Kazik. Ihe ha ji akpọ ewu o nyere ha philosophy zụpụta ha ha were ya na-akpọbata ndị ọzọ ga-awụ ndị isi n'obodo ha. Ihe izizi anyị nidiri ime ewu 1. Intentional leadership recruitment. 2. That leadership recruitment should be organized around the philosophy. thank you for saying na okpoko dịka Nkata Umu Ibe nwere ike iwe ebe esi azụ ndị mmadụ maka future leadership. Ọ bụrụ na esi etu ahụ mee ya, a ga-ezụpụtaba ndị nwere ike isi, ana m ele anya ichi ọchịchị echi, agaghị m emetọ afa m, agaghị m ezu oshi, agaghị anụ na m na-arụrụ aka. Ọ ga-abụ onye apụta ekwuo na o nwee clean bill of health. Thank you for that one. Number 2, media. Nna anyị ukwu Zik nwere West African Pilot and chains of other media houses lụrụ ọgụ inweta independence through the media. N'ụwa ọgụ ahụ nụcha, oru mgbe a na-alụ agha, amụbeghị mgbe ahụ. Unu gara isi na m na-akọ akụkọ tọrọ, mgbe agụtara m n'akwụkwọ. Ojukwu bụ ndu ndị Igbo wee jee agha ghọtara the power of the media. So that the Vatican press, all the world media, World Council of Churches, in fact, the last book, Diplomacy in Exile, I went to Ben Etiaba's house to pick my copy. Again, I was seeing the power of the media. Kojukusine deployed the media, even when he was in the exile. I needed what I call Yoruba na Kezi, David Hondein, us in Ndị Ìgbò. Engage in strategic investment that do not yield immediate profit. And that is the media. It is the media that controls your narrative. Without that, we will lose the narrative of our own history and other people will tell it for us. Finally, sir.
Okay.
Biko, Signature TV, Ịnọkwa Go TV. Anyị adịghị enwetakwa ndị ọzọ chọrọ ka anyị na-patronize ha na-ege ihe unu na-ekwu banyekwe na ebe anyị ga-esi na-enweta unu.
It's a work in progress. It will soon happen. All right. Before I hand over to EbubeDike, let me kindly and quickly recognize the distinguished presence of a professor of governance, public administration, ESUT Enugu, Professor Jude Udenta. Thank you for joining us, Professor Jude. Okay, back to you as quick as we can. Our time is fast spent. In fact, we're done. So, wrap it up.
Okay, Biko ụmụnne, I didn't say we should go and vote for Tinubu. Unu ga-aghọta ihe m kwu. I said I need the Tinubu nke Ndị Ìgbò. A warrior. Maka ọgụ Nigeria abụrụ ọgụ a na-agba aka anụ. So that we should understand, I tried to emphasize it. I used him as an example. Or is anybody in this gathering saying that he did not organize to take over power? Ndị Igbo, we speak too much grammar. I speak grammar. Mgbe ọ ga-ada gba ka emezi ihe politics amafu anya. So we need somebody who can even do it better than Tinubu. And that's why I said, na I need onye ga-asị ha na nke a bụ oge nke anyị. So because let's not lose sight. Peter Obi is a man Ndị Igbo ga-support. And what else is support na Peter Obi? But we need somebody who has the sagacity. Maka ọgụ agbakwa aka anụ ya. Ọ na-eri ego, ọ na-eri ọbara, ọ na-eri everything. So that's part. Then finally, since we are wrapping, I like me here, our brother Manfred, former commissioner for sports in Enugu. Ọ dịkwa mkpa ka Ndị Igbo, even when we are fighting for politics, for business, ọ dị mkpa ka culture anyị na-achịta azụ. A lot of omenani anyị asị no omenani ndị alụsị. It's not completely true. We need to unwrap those things so that we can, take from our heritage. So finally, Biko Ndị Igbo, Johnny Anunwa, adịọkwa easy. We need unity of purpose. My Oga, the professor, has talked about what is our philosophy. Another elder here said strategic engagement. Onwero tribe is also how a president. Although possible. Not even in the outside who claim that they have all the population. We need the Efik. We need in the TIF. So somebody has to do the work to engage these groups. It's within our reach. All Igbos need to do is to come together, put their hands together, and demand and fight for what is ours. That's the only way we can tell them. Nankabun kanye, no gen kabun kanye. Biko Igbo ebezina.
It's a wonderful time, and I feel privileged to have anchored this.
Thank you. Chief Bennett, I would also call on Omi Nyuku. Please join us. Omi Nyuku. I forgive you.
Well, good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Center for Memory and all our sponsors, especially Ford Foundation, it's my honor to present this to our moderator, Dalo Melofuma.
Omihuku Dalo, I also want to thank you for what you do for Ndị Ìgbò. Emeka Kane Kene Signature TV, Kane Kene Afia TV. You've done so much for us as a people, and I'll never stop saying thank you, and I'll never stop thanking you for the support you've given to this center and Nkata Umu Ibe. And before I present this to this great speaker we've had today, I want to say something about this edition. I've witnessed virtually all the sessions of the distinguished speaker series known as Nkata Umu Ibe from day one. I was there as chairman of Enugu Sports Club when Professor Chidi Odinkalu started this process. He spoke about Igbo Ekunie. From that day that he spoke to other great speakers, Professor Samamadi at some point, Ndipe, the late Ferdinand Agu, great speakers, Nyawodo, and not so great speakers like Ben Etiaba spoke at Nkata Umu Ibe. I can tell you, and this is not to flatter VinMartin, because if I have anything to do to Vin, is to unflatter him. So I'm not flattering him. This session, to me, ranks as one of the best 5 sessions we've had at Nkata Umu Ibe, both in terms of delivery and the content. I enjoyed, somebody like me, I always have a short attention span. So if you ask me to deliver a paper for an hour, I'll do it in 25 minutes. Vin spoke for so long, and he kept me spellbound. So on behalf of the board of the Center for Memories, led by the chairman, Mr. Patrick Okibo III, on behalf of the patrons, on behalf of the executive management, led by the executive director, Mazi Ihanyi Boko, I've been asked once again to make this presentation to a great speaker. And let me also add something, though he has clarified it. When he spoke, this is not a political event. It's not a political gathering. It's not a campaign event. When he spoke and he used the president's name, he used that name as a metaphor. He wasn't speaking literally. Even if he did speak literally, nothing was wrong with it. But let us all know that we're here objectively. We're here to achieve a good and great and correct narrative for our people. Just like he spoke. If you don't tell your story, others will tell that story for you, and you won't like the way they will tell it. At the risk of delivering another lecture, let it be my honor and privilege to present this to a great speaker, my brother, my friend, EbubeDike Obiora, the CEO of Signature TV, a great sports person, a great golfer, and this is the main plaque that honors you, EbubeDike, for this month. Emeka Mba is a great man. Emeka, come and because Emeka presenter. If I be next to me, this is a very powerful man. So be next to me. So join me in presenting this to VinMartin Ilo. And if you don't know what I've achieved, I'm in the middle now. So it's like I'm the recipient of this plaque. Everybody, we're happy. We're proud of you. Okay, thank you. Thank you. And I want to use, if I may ask Emeka to still stand, because Emeka standing next to me makes me look more powerful. By the way, Uche Gabriel, congratulations, you did very well. It wasn't my task to speak, but you're ever the professional. The next Nkata Umu Ibe. Nkata is always the first Friday of the month at 4 o'clock. So don't wait to be invited. So the next one will be on Friday, the 5th of September, this month at 4 o'clock. That same day, we will be kicking off the domestic tourism conference in Enugu. Indeed, P2B will be giving the keynote address on that occasion. And that event is happening at Ofuobi, a walking distance away from here. The event kicks off at 9 a.m. on that day. So we'll have the morning session. Well, it's a domestic tourism that will talk about our culture and arts. So we'll move from there at 4 o'clock or just before 4 o'clock to be here. So I expect the next Nkata to be packed because I'll be there, making sure that anybody who attends that seminar comes over here by 4 o'clock. Thank you so much. So you are invited to Nkata next month, and you're also invited to the Domestic Tourism Conference. And with this, I'll say thank you so much to the center for always recognizing me as badly as I have performed over the years. Thank you, EbubeDike. You did so well.
It's the best on the beat.